Hello, class. All right, so today we are going to we're going to read a really cool book. All right. Now, before we start this book, I want to ask you a very important question. All right. Have you guys ever done something, maybe just a small little thing, that eventually turns your day into just like one big adventure? You started with one little small thing, and it just kind of like turns into other things that turn into more things that turn into just one big long thing. All right. Well, we're going to read a book that involves that a little bit. Okay. So we're going to read today "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie." And looking at our front cover here, we have our little mouse here, and what's he holding? A cookie, right? And in the back, we have maybe a paper, a crown. Maybe he's gonna get into some drawing. Let's find out. All right. So, "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie" by Laura Numeroff, that's our author, illustrated by Felicia Bond. Now, our author writes the words, that's right. And what does our illustrator do? Draws the pictures, that's correct. All right, let's get started. If you give your mouse a cookie. If you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna ask for a glass of milk. I can relate. Usually, if I'm snacking, I'm gonna want to drink too. When you give him milk, he'll probably ask you for a straw. When he's finished, he'll ask for a napkin. Oh boy, what do you think he's gonna ask for next? Then he'll want to look in the mirror to make sure he doesn't have a milk mustache. When he looks into the mirror, he might notice his hair needs a trim, right? So a trim is kind of like to cut something. So when a barber is cutting your hair, he's trimming your hair. So he'll probably ask for a pair of nail scissors, which are just really small scissors. When he's finished giving himself a trim, he'll want a broom to sweep up. He'll start sweeping. He might get carried away and sweep every room in the house. Now, carried away, that's an interesting phrase. To get carried away is kind of like when you get into something that you just keep going and going, you're very into it, and you end up doing way more than you planned. That's kind of what our mouse is doing here, right? Getting carried away with cleaning all these rooms. And oh boy, look at that. We got piles of dust everywhere. He may even end up washing the floors as well. When he's done, he'll probably want to take a nap. Oh, I can relate. Has anybody here ever done just some chores and are just really tired at the end? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Yeah, absolutely. You'll have to fix up a little box for him with a blanket and a pillow. He'll crawl in, make himself comfortable, and fluff the pillow a few times. He'll probably ask you to read him a story, and probably just means likely to, or like maybe. All right, let's see what story. So, you'll read to him from one of your books, and he'll have to see the pictures. When he looks at the pictures, he'll get so excited, he'll want to draw one of his own. He'll ask for the paper and the crayons, just like we saw on the cover of the book. He'll draw a picture. Look at that big old paper and those crayons. I wonder what he's going to draw. Oh my goodness. Look at that. What a beautiful little picture. It looks like he drew himself, maybe a sister, and a brother, and I'm assuming those are his parents. So he drew a picture of his family. That's really sweet. When the picture is finished, he'll want to sign his name with a pen. Then he'll want to hang his picture on the refrigerator. Has anybody here, maybe at home, maybe they have a picture on their refrigerator, something they drew or made? Yeah? Yeah? Well, he wants to put his picture on the refrigerator, so that means he'll need Scotch tape. He'll hang up his drawing and stand back to look at it. Looking at the refrigerator will remind him that, and to remind yourself of something means maybe you think of something that just kind of that you need to do. It'll jog your memory. And so looking at the refrigerator will remind him that he's thirsty. So, oh boy, and look, that boy, he is tired from chasing this mouse around and cleaning up after him. He'll ask for a glass of milk. And chances are, if he asks for a glass of milk, chances are, that's another really interesting term. So chances are just means it's very, very likely. So more than probably likely. If he asks for a glass of milk, he's going to want a cookie to go with it. Oh my goodness. And look here. At the very end, we have the boy. He is tired. He's got the mouse who has his cookie again. And oh my goodness, look at this big old mess here. Oh, and look at that. Little crumbs and a chocolate chip. And if you look real closely, little mouse tracks. That's so cute. Well, that was our story. All right, that was if you give a mouse a cookie. Okay. What a busy day that mouse had, right? So, the mouse, he started with getting himself a little cookie. And then, of course, after the cookie, he wanted a glass of milk. Well, then he needed a straw for the milk. After he drank the milk, he needed a napkin, so he made sure he didn't have a little milk mustache. And then it kept going on and on. Now, what happens at the very end of the book? That is right. The mouse ended up wanting another cookie, just like at the very beginning of the book, right? So it's kind of just like one big circle. It started with him wanting a cookie, and then it went on to him needing something else, to doing this, to doing that, all the way back to him wanting another cookie. That is crazy. So, you guys have been fantastic listeners and great readers today. So I just want to ask you one more question before we get into a really, really fun activity. I want to ask you guys, if you were to give the mouse maybe some food or maybe an activity to do, what do you think the mouse will do next? Let's find out. All right. Thank you.